You made it all up. The millionaire CEO went pale when his ex stood before him with boys who shared his face. Hi, my beautiful family. Welcome back to Mr. Peter Stories, your very own family story channel. May the Almighty bless every woman in this family with unshakable strength, endless wisdom, and a heart overflowing with love. May your days be filled with light, your nights with peace, and your life with blessings that no sorrow can touch. May every challenge turn into courage, every tear into hope, and may your presence continue to inspire those around you. If your heart is true, like the video. If your love is real, write, "I am with Mr. Peter." The intercom on Chris Jordan's desk buzzed at exactly 3 in the afternoon. "Mr. Jordan, there's someone here without an appointment." His assistant's voice carried unusual tension. "She says you'll want to see her." Chris didn't look up from the contract he wasn't reading. "Tell them to schedule—" "She has children with her, sir." His pen stopped. "Send them in." The door opened, and Crystal Carter walked in like she owned the building. Designer suit, hair pulled back, eyes harder and colder than he remembered. Behind her, 2 children holding hands, maybe 4 or 5 years old. The boy had Chris's green eyes, exact copies. The girl had them too, softer, mixed with Crystal's golden brown skin. "Crystal," his voice came out rough. "Chris." She said his name like it meant nothing. "These are Henry and Eloise. They're 4. They asked about their father." "I don't lie to my children." Henry stared at Chris with unsettling intensity. Eloise hid behind her mother's leg. "Hi," Eloise said softly. Chris felt something crack inside. "Hi." "You look like us," Henry observed. "Henry," Crystal touched his head. "Remember what we talked about? That he made a mistake he can't take back," Henry recited. "And that some things stay broken even when people say sorry." Crystal's voice softened only for her children. To Chris, ice. "You've seen him now. We should go." "Wait." Chris moved too quickly. All 3 stepped back in unison. A unit. He was the outsider. "Please, can we talk?" "We have nothing to talk about. I'm back in New York for business. They saw your face on the news and asked questions. So here's your answer. You exist. Congratulations." "Mommy, can we get ice cream now?" Eloise tugged Crystal's hand. "Yes, baby. We're leaving." "Crystal, please. I need to explain." "Explain what? That you called me a liar? That you told me to get rid of a fake pregnancy? That your lawyers sent me threats when I was 7 months pregnant?" Chris felt ice flood his veins. "What lawyers? I never sent—" "Save it. My children don't need explanations from you." Henry watched Chris. "Are you sad?" "What?" "You look sad. Like when Eloise broke her favorite toy and couldn't fix it." "Henry, sweetheart, we need to go." Crystal's hand on his shoulder was firm. "But I want to know if—" "Now." Both children moved toward the door immediately. Respect, not fear. Chris watched them leave. The door closed, like a coffin ceiling. He grabbed his phone. "Ryan, I need everything about Crystal Carter. Where she lives, how she survived, the last 5 years, everything." "Already on it, boss." "And Ryan?" "She mentioned lawyers sending threats. Find out who authorized that." Chris walked to the window. Manhattan glittered below. Monte Carlo flashed in his mind. Walking into that ballroom with Crystal and watching every head turn. The Russian billionaire who'd said, "I would give up half my fortune to feel what you two have." That's what they'd been. The couple everyone measured themselves against. His phone buzzed. "Ryan, she's not just surviving, she's thriving. Carter Global Marketing. Chicago-based. Just expanded to New York. She's here because she outgrew Chicago. She'd built an empire while raising his children. Children he didn't know existed. But something nagged him, those lawyers. He pulled up legal records, found cease and desist letters to Crystal, threatening prosecution if she contacted him or claimed paternity. The signature made him sick. Beverly Jordan, Chief Legal Counsel and Chief of Staff, Jordan Technologies. His aunt, the woman who'd raised him after his father died. She'd sent legal threats to Crystal without his knowledge, using his company letterhead. The memory forced its way up. That night, the last night, Crystal walking in with Chinese food, glowing at 5 months pregnant. "Chris, I have the best news." He'd been at the window, couldn't look at her. Beverly on the couch with Madison. Documents spread like evidence. "Is it even mine?" Her face, the confusion turning to devastation. Beverly standing, hand on his shoulder like she'd done when his father died. "Sweetheart, we know everything. The money, the meetings, the lies." Crystal looking at documents accusing her of things she'd never done. "This isn't real." "Chris, you can't believe—" "I heard the recording, Crystal." He'd played it. Her voice, "How much can I get from Chris? The pregnancy guarantees me millions. That's not me. It sounds exactly like you. Because someone made it sound like me. I'm carrying your babies, twins, a boy and a girl. I just found out today. Babies. Making it twins to get more money." She'd taken off the promise ring. "If you believe I'm capable of this, you never knew me at all." At the door, not turning. "You're going to regret this for the rest of your life." Beverly had smiled. "You did the right thing." He'd believed that for 6 months, until doubt started eating him alive. Ryan walked in with a tablet. "You need to see this. Financial records, medical records, timeline." Crystal moved to Chicago the week after, had twins 9 months later, full term. The dates line up perfectly. Chris's hands went numb. She started her company while pregnant. Built it from nothing. Ryan paused. "That payment from your Aunt Beverly to Dr. Angela Rodriguez? The clinic where Crystal had prenatal care? The doctor lost her license 2 years ago. Ethics violations. Falsifying medical records." "What?" "Beverly's been embezzling from the Jordan trusts for years. If you'd married Crystal, if you'd audited those trusts." Ryan pulled up documents. "Beverly would have gone to prison." Chris felt the room tilt. "Your aunt didn't destroy your relationship because she thought Crystal was a gold digger. She destroyed it because Crystal was a threat to her crimes." "And the lawyers?" "Sent by Beverly. She forged your signature. Crystal received 3 letters while pregnant, each more threatening. The final one warned criminal charges for harassment." Chris sat slowly. "She was pregnant with my children and receiving legal threats from my own company. Beverly made sure Crystal stayed away. Find Beverly, now." "But Chris," Ryan's voice was careful, "that recording that destroyed everything? It was created using voice clone AI, technology your company helped develop." Chris felt his blood turn to ice. Beverly hadn't just manipulated him. She'd used his own creation as a weapon against his heart. Chapter 2. The Poison That Looked Like Family. Beverly Jordan stared at her phone. Madison's text. "Chris knows something." Beverly poured whiskey with steady hands. Her lawyer called. "Chris's team is requesting financial records from the family trusts." "They won't find anything," Beverly lied, because she'd stolen millions, falsified records, destroyed her nephew's life to cover her crimes. Her mind went back 10 years, David Jordan discovering her embezzlement, confronting her. "I'm going to the authorities tomorrow." Beverly had made one call, had his brakes tampered with, watched him drive to his death, then cried at his funeral, held his 19-year-old son. "I'll take care of you like he would have wanted." Chris, devastated and orphaned, had clung to her. She'd made herself indispensable, chief of staff, legal counsel, surrogate mother, the only family he had left. For 10 years, she'd controlled every aspect of his business. Every decision went through her. She'd built herself into his world so completely that questioning her felt like questioning reality. Until Crystal Carter, 6 years ago, that family dinner. Beverly had watched them. The way Chris looked at Crystal, the way they existed in their own universe. After dinner, she'd overheard Chris. "I want to marry her, soon, which means full audit of the family trusts. I want everything transparent before we combine our lives." Audit. That night, Beverly started planning. Not quick destruction, slow poisoning of Chris's mind. Months of casual comments. "I saw Crystal with someone from Titan Industries. She looked nervous. Did you notice her asking about the family trusts? Be careful. I heard her previous relationship ended over money." Chris brushed them off at first. He was in love. But Beverly was patient. She escalated, left documents where he'd find them, articles about gold diggers, prenup recommendations. "I'm not saying Crystal is like this," she'd say, "but I promised your father before he died that I'd protect you." She weaponized his grief constantly, made protecting the Jordan legacy synonymous with protecting her. When Crystal announced pregnancy, Beverly nearly panicked. Baby meant marriage, marriage meant audits, audits meant prison. She found the intelligence firm, hired the voice actress. But she used Chris's own voice clone AI technology, captured hours of Crystal's voice at dinners, fed it into the system Chris had helped develop. The fake recording was flawless. Then the medical records. Dr. Angela Rodriguez, drowning in debt. Beverly offered her a way out. Just add notes suggesting she had doubts, nothing dramatic. The fake evidence piled up over 3 months. Bank statements, photos, emails, all manufactured. Beverly waited until Crystal was 5 months pregnant. Until everything was perfect. Then she struck. Family meeting at Chris's penthouse. Madison as witness. Evidence laid out like prosecution. When Crystal arrived excited about her ultrasound, Beverly was ready. Crystal's devastation had been satisfying. Beverly felt no guilt, just relief. After Crystal left, Beverly held Chris while he cried. "Your father would be proud of you for being strong." Then she took it further. Drafted cease and desist letters, forged Chris's signature, made sure Crystal knew contact would mean criminal prosecution. The letters were deliberately cruel. Any paternity claims will be contested. Any contact will result in criminal charges. Any public statements will result in lawsuits. Crystal, pregnant and alone, believed Chris sent them. The plan worked for 5 years. Until today. Madison texted, "Chris's investigator is asking about you, about the clinic, about money." Beverly opened her contingency file. If Chris wanted to dig into the past, she'd give him something to find. Something that would destroy Crystal all over again. 3 hours later, Beverly sat in her lawyer's office. "I need to file a lawsuit against Chris Jordan and emergency custody of his children." "Beverly, you have no standing. I'm their great-aunt. Their father abandoned them. Their mother kept them from family. I have every right. This will get thrown out. I don't need it to last. I need it to destroy them publicly before they destroy me." She made one more call. "There's a woman named Crystal Carter. Company event tomorrow night. Sabotage it." Technical difficulties? Whatever ensures she fails spectacularly. Beverly looked at Boston's skyline. Chris thought he could investigate her. She'd destroyed his happiness once. She'd do it again. This time, both Chris and Crystal would lose everything. Meanwhile, Crystal sat with Henry and Eloise. "Mommy, why did you look sad when we left?" Eloise asked. "Seeing your father brought back memories." "Do you still love him?" Eloise asked innocently. Crystal thought about lying. "I loved who I thought he was, but that person didn't exist." "Maybe he's sorry," Eloise said hopefully. "Sorry doesn't fix everything." Crystal kissed her head. "But we don't need him to be happy, do we?" "No," Henry said firmly. "We have each other." Later, after the kids slept, Crystal stood at her window remembering the good parts before Beverly destroyed everything. Her phone buzzed. "Tiffany, everything set for tomorrow's presentation?" "Ready. This is going to change everything." She had no idea how right she was. Beverly was already planning to burn her world down. Chapter 3. The architect of destruction. Ryan knocked on Chris's door at 6 a.m. with a file. "You need to sit down." Chris had been staring at photos of Crystal and the twins all night. Henry at a robotics competition, Eloise at an art show. 4 years of moments he'd missed because Beverly made him believe they didn't exist. "Just tell me." "Beverly orchestrated everything. I found the intelligence firm. They kept records. The voice actress kept the originals. Dr. Rodriguez gave a full confession on video. Ryan dropped the file. Beverly planned this for months. Every piece of evidence, every lie, every manipulation. Inside were bank records showing Beverly's payments, contracts with the voice actress, emails discussing how to alter Crystal's medical files. But there was more. Communication logs from Beverly to the voice clone AI team. She'd requested testing access 8 months before the betrayal. Submitted audio files labeled quality assurance. Those samples were Crystal's voice. Beverly had been planning this for almost a year, using technology Chris had been proud of, turning his innovation into a weapon. "There's more." Ryan pulled out a journal. "Your father's, the one you couldn't read after he died. Beverly's been embezzling longer than we thought. Your father discovered it, confronted her the day before his accident." Chris felt his world tilt. "What are you saying?" "Your father's brake failure might not have been an accident. He discovers embezzlement, confronts Beverly, dies the next day. Beverly becomes your guardian and chief of staff. She killed my father. Can't prove it yet, but the mechanic who worked on his car died 3 years ago, ruled a suicide." Chris stood so fast his chair flew backward. "Where is she?" 2 hours later, Chris walked into the Connecticut estate where Beverly was having coffee. "Christopher, this is unexpected." Chris dropped the file. Papers spilled everywhere. "I know everything. The intelligence firm, the voice actress, Dr. Rodriguez, the embezzlement, the voice clone AI you stole from my company, all of it." Beverly's hand trembled slightly, setting down her cup. "I found the truth. You destroyed my relationship because you were stealing and knew I'd audit the trusts. You used technology I developed to fake evidence. You weaponized my grief over my father's death to blind me." Beverly stood. "You're upset. You made me believe protecting the Jordan legacy meant protecting you. You used my love for my father against me." Chris leaned close. "And I think you killed him. I think you murdered your own brother to cover your crimes." Color drained from Beverly's face. "You can't prove that." "Maybe not. But I'll try. And the investigation will destroy you. People will always wonder, did Beverly Jordan kill David?" "Chris, wait. We can work this out. 2 days. Withdraw your lawsuits. Return what you stole. Turn yourself in. Or I release everything and push for a murder investigation." Beverly sank into her chair, looking old for the first time. "You have 48 hours. Chris left her there. But Beverly hadn't survived this long by giving up. The moment his car disappeared, she made calls. "Destroy Crystal Carter's presentation tonight, catastrophic failure, and leak the story about Chris's abandoned children everywhere." If Chris wanted war, she'd give him war. That evening, Crystal stood backstage at the conference center. This presentation was everything. Major clients, industry leaders. If she landed them, Carter Global would be unstoppable. Tiffany squeezed her hand. "Go show them what the Phoenix can do." Crystal walked on stage, clicked to her first slide, nothing. Clicked again. Black screen. "Technical difficulties, just one moment." But it wasn't technical difficulties. Someone had corrupted every file, every backup, everything gone, replaced with, "You don't belong here," the audience whispered. Phones came out, then she saw him. Chris Jordan walking down the aisle with a laptop. "What are you doing here?" "Helping. Do you trust me?" "No." "Fair. But do you want to save this?" Crystal looked at the restless crowd, at everything collapsing. "What's your plan?" Chris pulled up files from Jordan Tech. "We present together, like we used to." They were back in sync immediately, pulling up materials they'd created years ago. Crystal adapting on the fly, finishing each other's sentences, perfect synchronization. The chemistry that once made couples jealous channeled into pure brilliance. When they finished, the applause was deafening. Clients approached immediately. "That was incredible. Let's talk contracts." But Crystal stared at Chris. "How did you know?" "Beverly tried to destroy you tonight. I'm not letting her win." Tiffany pulled Crystal aside. "Check the news." Every outlet had the same headline: Tech Billionaire's Secret Family. Chris Jordan abandoned pregnant girlfriend and twin children. Photos of Crystal, Henry and Eloise. Their names. Everything. "Who leaked this?" Ryan called Chris. "Beverly leaked everything. It's viral." Chris looked at Crystal's face. Betrayal. Again. "I'm sorry." "Sorry? My children's faces are on the internet because of your family, because I met you." She walked away. Tiffany blocked Chris. "You've done enough." Chris's phone buzzed. Unknown number. "This is just the beginning. You wanted to destroy me. Let's see who breaks first. I raised you. I know every weakness." Beverly. The war had begun. Chapter 4. The night everything shattered. Crystal made it to her hotel before the tears came. Henry and Eloise were with Tiffany at a secure location, safe. But alone, Crystal let herself break. Her phone wouldn't stop. Journalists, colleagues, everyone had opinions. She turned it off and sat on the bathroom floor. That last night kept replaying, walking in with Chinese food, excited about the ultrasound. Twins. She'd been planning cute announcements. But Chris's face. Cold. Distant. Beverly and Madison on the couch. "Is it even mine?" 4 words that shattered everything. She'd tried to defend herself, but Chris had evidence. Bank statements, photos, that recording of her voice saying terrible things. "That's not me. Chris, you know I would never..." But he didn't know her. That's what she realized. If he could believe this, he'd never known her at all. Beverly watched with satisfaction, playing concerned aunt while twisting the knife. Crystal remembered taking off the ring. "If you believe I'm capable of this, you never knew me at all." Then came the letters. Weeks later, threatening, cruel, Jordan Tech letterhead, Chris's signature. "Any paternity claims will be contested. Any contact will be treated as harassment. Any statements will result in lawsuits." 6 months pregnant with twins, reading those letters, feeling something die inside. Not love. That died the night he called her a liar. Hope. Hope that maybe he'd realize his mistake. The letters killed that hope. She'd moved to Chicago because New York felt poisoned, started her company because she needed to survive, built an empire to show Henry and Eloise their mother was strong enough to protect them. A knock pulled her back. "It's me, Chris, please." 5 minutes. She didn't want to open that door, but something in his voice made her. Chris looked terrible. Good. "What?" He held out a tablet. "Dr. Rodriguez, confession." Crystal pressed play. "Dr. Rodriguez, Beverly Jordan paid me to falsify Crystal Carter's medical records, add notes suggesting doubts about paternity. None of it was true. I needed money. I'm so sorry." Crystal's hands went numb. "There's more." Chris showed her everything. The voice actress, the voice clone AI using technology his company developed, Beverly submitting Crystal's voice for testing months before, the intelligence firm, Beverly's embezzlement, and this, the legal letters. "I didn't send these. Beverly forged my signature, used my company, made you think I was threatening you." Crystal stared at the signature. It looked exactly like his, but tiny differences. The curve of the J, the spacing. "She also filed false police reports, claimed you were stalking me, made sure those reports followed you, sabotaged your New York business deals for 5 years to keep you away." Crystal watched years of betrayal documented. Why show me now? Because you deserved to know years ago. Because Beverly weaponized my grief over my father to blind me. What does your father have to do with this? My father discovered Beverly's embezzlement, confronted her the day before he died. Next day, brake failure. Beverly became my guardian. She's controlled my life for 10 years. You think she killed him? I know she did. Can't prove it yet. Chris looked broken. She used my love for my father against me, made me believe protecting his legacy meant protecting her. Every time I questioned her, she'd invoke his memory. She turned my grief into a weapon. Crystal felt understanding shift, not forgiveness. Understanding. You didn't just believe lies about me. You were living inside a decade-long manipulation. That doesn't excuse what I did, but Crystal, she didn't just present fake evidence. She spent months poisoning my mind first, planting doubts, making me paranoid, and I let her because I trusted her more than myself. You threw me away, told me to get rid of our fake pregnancy, had Beverly threatened me. I know. I went to the hospital alone, held them alone, fed them at 3 a.m. alone, built a company with them strapped to my chest. First steps, first words, first everything. You lost all of it. I know. Stop saying that. Her composure cracked. You don't know what it's like to love someone completely and have them look at you like you're nothing. To be 5 months pregnant and suddenly homeless. To tell your children their father doesn't want them. Chris's face was wet. You're right. But I know Beverly destroyed us. I know I let her manipulate me because I was traumatized and didn't trust what we had. I know Henry and Eloise exist because you're strong enough to survive. And I know sorry is inadequate. Years of pain between them. Your aunt is still trying to destroy me. The leak, the sabotage, she won't stop. I know. That's why we stop her together. There is no together. Crystal, no. You don't get to fix this by taking down Beverly. I saved myself 5 years ago. I built this life. And I'm taking down your aunt alone too. She's dangerous. So am I. Chris believed her. This crystal had been forged in fire. At least let me help. I have resources. Fine. But this isn't about us. This is about protecting my children from your toxic family. Our children. Biologically, yes. But they're mine in every way that matters. You're the DNA donor who showed up 5 years late. Designed to hurt. They did. I'll take whatever relationship you allow. But Crystal, I'm going to prove I can be the man I should have been. The man I would have been if Beverly hadn't spent a decade turning me into her puppet. Even if you never forgive me. Why? Because you were right. I do regret it. Every day. But more than that, I'm angry. Furious that Beverly stole 10 years of my life. Killed my father and used his memory to control me. Made me destroy the best thing that happened to me. Cost me 5 years with my children. I want her destroyed. And I think you do too. Crystal closed the door without a word. But she didn't lock it. Chris stood there before calling Ryan. Dig deeper. If she leaked today, she's planning something bigger. Already on it, Beverly filed additional motions. Claims Crystal deliberately kept your children from you, pushing for temporary custody to protect them. She's insane. She's desperate. Desperate people who've killed before are dangerous. Meanwhile, Crystal called Tiffany. How are the kids? Perfect. Asleep. Don't know about the news yet. Good, because I'm not running. We're going to expose Beverly. Completely. Make sure she never hurts anyone again. I love when you get that tone. Crystal pulled up her laptop. Started making lists, every piece of evidence needed, every person to talk to, every strategic move to take down Beverly Jordan. By morning, she'd have a battle plan. Beverly thought she was fighting a heartbroken young woman. She was about to learn she was fighting the Phoenix, and the Phoenix didn't just survive fires. She burned everything that tried to destroy her. Chapter 5. The fortress she built without him. Tiffany had never seen Crystal like this. 6 a.m. Crystal already at the temporary office, 3 whiteboards covered in notes, laptop open to multiple screens. No, I don't care what it costs. I want the best forensic accountant in the country. Pause. Today. Pay them triple. She hung up and dialed another number. Tiffany set down coffee Crystal wouldn't drink. Have you slept? Sleep is for people not fighting for their children. Crystal. She put their faces on the news, Tiff. Henry and Eloise dealing with paparazzi. 4-year-olds shouldn't hide from cameras. Where are they now? Safe location Chris arranged. Private security. They think it's hide and seek from camera people. Her voice broke. They shouldn't have to hide. Tiffany hugged her. We're ending this. The door opened. Chris and Ryan. What are you doing here? Crystal didn't look up. Helping. Chris set down files. Ryan found something. Beverly's not working alone. That got her attention. What? Ryan pulled up a document. Beverly's been paying Cole Winters for years, ex-military, corporate sabotage specialist. He corrupted your presentation, tipped off media about the twins. Where is he? Manhattan. I have his location. Crystal stood. Let's go. Crystal, wait. Chris stepped in front. These people are dangerous. Good, so am I. Let Ryan and I handle... No, this is my fight. Those are my children. I'm not sitting on sidelines while you men handle it. Chris recognized that tone. No arguing. Fine, but we do this smart, together. They found Cole at a Chelsea gym. Ryan ensured they caught him alone. Crystal walked up while he benched. Chris and Ryan flanked her. Cole Winters, he assessed immediately. Who's asking? The woman whose life you ruined. Crystal showed her phone. I have documentation of every payment Beverly made, emails detailing sabotage, communications where you leaked information about children. Cole sat up. You can't prove that. Actually, I can, unless you tell me everything about Beverly's plans, every detail, every target, every move. And if I don't? I turn this to the FBI. Corporate sabotage is federal, so is extortion, stalking minors. You're looking at 10 years minimum. Cole laughed. Bluffing. Crystal pulled out a card. Name and number written on it. Special Agent Torres, expecting my call in 1 hour. Unless you give me a reason not to. The laughter died. Cole looked at Chris. You're letting her threaten me. She's not threatening. She's promising. And you don't want to underestimate her. Cole calculated. Finally. What do you want to know? Everything. 20 minutes later, back in the car. She's planning what? Tiffany on speakerphone shaking. Beverly's claiming Crystal is unfit, Chris repeated. Fake witnesses. Doctored emails suggesting Crystal leaves kids alone, doesn't feed them, exposes them to danger, building a case for temporary removal during custody battle. That's insane. But it takes time to disprove, investigations, hearings. Meanwhile, Henry and Eloise in foster care, or with Beverly. Crystal stared out the window, jaw clenched. Over my dead body. We have Cole's testimony, Ryan said. Evidence of Beverly's manipulation. Not enough. Crystal turned. We need something devastating that Beverly can't recover from. Chris looked at her. I might know where. An hour later, at the Connecticut estate, his father's study. My father kept journals, documented everything, including concerns about Beverly managing trusts. Why didn't you look before? Couldn't. After he died, I just couldn't. But if he suspected Beverly stealing, he'd have written about it. 2 hours of searching. Then Chris found it. Entry from 10 years ago. Beverly asked for money, said Richard left her with nothing. But something's wrong. She has expensive apartments, designer clothes, Europe trips. The math doesn't add up. I need to audit the trusts. If she's stealing, I'll have to remove her and involve authorities. I'll talk to her tomorrow at dinner. Dated 1 day before Chris's father died. Silence. You don't think... Crystal couldn't finish. Chris's hands shook. The accident was investigated. Brake failure. Brakes fail, Ryan said carefully, but they also get cut. My father suspected embezzlement, was going to confront her. Next day, he died conveniently before he could. Chris looked sick. I need to know if she killed him. Ryan pulled out his phone. I'll get the accident report re-examined. If there was foul play, we'll find it. Crystal watched Chris stare at his father's handwriting. She felt something she didn't want. Sympathy. I'm sorry. If she killed him... Chris couldn't finish. Crystal's phone rang. Tiffany, you need to get back here. Now. What's wrong? Child Protective Services showed up looking for you and the kids. Someone filed a report claiming you're endangering them. Beverly, get here. Fast. Record time back to Manhattan. Too late. Tiffany met them, face pale. They took them. What? Crystal's world tilted. CPS has Henry and Eloise. Temporary until they verify claims are false. But Crystal, the kids were terrified, didn't understand why strangers took them. Something broke inside Crystal's chest. Where? Emergency foster placement. Wouldn't say where. You'll be notified once they process. Crystal turned to Chris. Fix this. Money, lawyers, connections. I don't care. Get my children back now. I will. I promise. She looked at him with rage and pain. You better, because if you fail again, there won't be a third chance. Chris made calls. Lawyers filed emergency motions, demanding hearings, threatening lawsuits for wrongful removal. But it took time. Time Henry and Eloise spent with strangers, confused and scared. That night, Crystal sat alone staring at photos. First day of preschool, learning to ride bikes, covered in flour baking cookies, every moment she'd fought for, every sacrifice, every late night working after they slept. Gone, taken by a system believing lies from a woman who'd never loved anyone. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Now you know how it feels to lose everything. Sleep well. Beverly. Crystal stared at that text, then made a decision. Called Chris. I want to meet with her. What? Crystal, no, I want to look Beverly Jordan in the eye and tell her exactly what I'm going to do to her. Set it up. Bad idea. I don't care. Set it up. Silence. Then, okay, tomorrow morning, but I'm coming. Fine. Crystal looked at Manhattan's skyline. Beverly took her children. Tomorrow, Crystal was declaring war, fighting to destroy. Chapter 6. When the Villain Strikes Back. Midtown restaurant. Neutral ground. Public enough for safety. Private enough for brutal honesty. Beverly arrived first. Immaculate. Designer clothes and pearls. Ordered tea like having a pleasant morning. Crystal walked in with Chris, sat across from Beverly and smiled. Thank you for meeting. Beverly stirred tea. I was curious what you could say. I wanted to tell you face to face that I'm going to destroy you. How dramatic. I'm being specific. Crystal pulled out her tablet. I have Dr. Rodriguez's confession about bribing her to falsify my records. Cole Winters' testimony about hiring him for sabotage. Financial records showing you embezzled millions over a decade. Communications proving you orchestrated fake evidence. Beverly's face didn't change. Interesting fiction. Documented fact. Here's what I'm doing. First, releasing everything to media. Every dirty detail of how you manipulated your nephew and ruined my life to cover crimes. Your name will be synonymous with betrayal. You won't. I absolutely will. Then ensuring you're arrested for embezzlement, fraud, conspiracy, false reports and more. You'll go to real prison, where designer clothes mean nothing. Beverly finally looked bothered. You have no idea who you're threatening. I know exactly who you are. A bitter, jealous woman who couldn't stand seeing happiness because you've never been happy. You killed your own brother because he discovered your crimes. Manipulated your nephew using his grief. Destroyed lives for money and control. You're pathetic. Beverly's hand tightened on her cup. Watch yourself. Or what? Take my children? Too late. Which was your biggest mistake? Now I have nothing to lose, and a woman with nothing to lose is the most dangerous thing in the world. You'll never get them back. I will. Because your claims are lies, and investigators will prove it. Your fake witnesses will crumble. When that happens, you'll be charged with false reports, endangerment, kidnapping. Beverly stood. I'm done. Sit down. Chris's voice was cold. I don't take orders from you. Yes, you do. Chris pulled out his father's journal. My father suspected you were stealing. Wrote about it one day before he died. Planning to confront you and involve authorities. Beverly's face went pale. His accident was investigated and closed. But I'm having it re-examined. If there's evidence his brakes were tampered, that this was murder. Chris's voice shook. I'll make sure you never see daylight. You can't prove anything. Maybe not. But I'll try, and the investigation will destroy your reputation. People will always wonder if you killed David Jordan. That question follows you forever. Beverly sat slowly, first time genuinely shaken. What do you want? Drop custody case? Admit claims were false? Return every dollar? Turn yourself in? And if I don't? We release everything today, and I push for murder investigation. Your choice. Beverly was quiet, then laughed. You think you've won. You're both naive. She pulled out her phone. While we've been chatting, I've been executing the real plan. Showed them a headline. Tech billionaire Chris Jordan under investigation for tax fraud and money laundering. I have contacts everywhere. IRS is very interested in irregularities in Jordan Tech's statements. Irregularities I created over the past year. By tonight, your company raided, Chris. Assets frozen, reputation destroyed. Chris stared. You're insane. I'm thorough. Beverly turned to Crystal. And for you, I've arranged for your biggest clients to receive anonymous tips about questionable business practices. By Monday, you're defending breach of contract lawsuits. You can't do this. I already did. I'm 10 steps ahead. You think you're destroying me? I've destroyed you both. Every move you make, I've anticipated. Every strategy I've countered. I've been playing this game for 10 years. You're amateurs. She stood. Enjoy the media circus. I'll be watching from my lawyer's offices while your lives implode. And when you're both broken and desperate, when you've lost everything, maybe you'll understand. You don't fight Beverly Jordan and win. You just learn how much you can lose. Beverly walked out like she'd won a war. Chris and Crystal sat stunned. She really did it. She's lying. Has to be. But Chris was already calling lawyers. The conversation got frantic. He hung up, ashen. IRS just showed up at Jordan Tech. Warrant, seizing financial records. Crystal checked email. Messages from 3 biggest clients. We need to discuss serious concerns immediately or we'll terminate. She's actually destroying us. We fight back, now. Over 6 hours, it became clear how thorough Beverly's planning was. IRS investigation based on meticulously faked documents looking legitimate. Jordan Tech assets frozen. Chris's personal accounts restricted. Crystal's clients pulling contracts based on anonymous emails claiming stolen information and breached confidentiality. False but detailed enough for panic. By evening in Chris's lawyer's office with a team doing damage control. This is unprecedented, Thomas said. Beverly must have planned this for months. Every document perfectly forged. Every allegation just credible enough to trigger investigation without being provable. Brilliant in the worst way. How do we stop it? Prove everything's fake. But that takes weeks, maybe months. We don't have months. My children are in foster care. Crystal's company imploding. My company frozen. Then we be smarter than Beverly. Crystal stared at the evidence wall. She's planned this, but she made one mistake. What? She told us. Means she thinks she's won. People who think they've won get sloppy. Beverly doesn't do sloppy, Chris said. Everyone does eventually. Crystal turned to Ryan. Cole mentioned someone named Leo, said Beverly's worked with him for years. Leo handles technical side, forgery, digital trails, making fake evidence look real. Don't know who Leo is yet. Cole said he's paranoid, never meets in person, everything digital. Then we find his digital trail. Crystal looked at Jamie, their tech expert. Can you track someone if we have their work? Jamie smiled. If they left any signature in the code, any pattern in how they forged documents, I can find them. Show me the fake evidence. They worked through the night. Jamie analyzing forged IRS documents, fake emails, everything Beverly created. By dawn, Jamie had something. Found him, Leo Petrov, Queens, and he's not as good as he thinks. Look, lines of code. He uses the same digital signature on everything, barely visible but there. Way of identifying his work, probably for payment proof, but means I can prove every document with this signature came from the same source. Can you prove they're faked? Absolutely. Metadata shows they were created last month, not over years like claimed. Timestamps don't lie. Chris felt hope. Can we get IRS to back off? If we present this, yes, but we need Leo to confirm. Need him to testify Beverly hired him. Then we talk to Leo. Crystal stood. Now. Leo Petrov lived in a Queens basement smelling like stale pizza and desperation. He opened the door to find Crystal, Chris, Ryan, and 2 lawyers. Who the hell are you? The people whose lives you helped destroy, Crystal said. We need to talk. I don't know what you're talking about. Jamie stepped forward with her laptop. I have your digital signature on 47 forged documents. I can prove you created fake IRS reports, fabricated emails, generated false evidence for Beverly Jordan, federal fraud charges putting you away for 20 years. Leo went white. I want a lawyer. You can have one. Or talk now and maybe we don't turn you to FBI. Leo looked at them, calculating. What do you want? Everything. Every document you created for Beverly, every instruction, every payment. And most importantly, we want you to testify she hired you to fabricate all of it. She'll kill me. She's going to prison, Chris said. Can't hurt you from there. Leo was quiet. Then, come in. His apartment was a disaster of computers, but his records were meticulous. He showed them everything. Years of work for Beverly, forged statements, fake legal documents, doctored photographs, everything Beverly used to destroy people over years. She's been doing this for a long time, Leo said quietly. Anyone who threatened her, business rivals, family members asking questions, she'd pay me to create evidence and use it to destroy them. How many people? At least 25 I worked on personally. But I think there were others before me. Staggering. Beverly hadn't just destroyed Chris and Crystal. She'd been a serial destroyer of lives for over a decade. Will you testify? If you guarantee protection and immunity. Done. They got everything documented. By the time they left, they had enough to clear their names and put Beverly away for decades. We need to move fast, Thomas said. Beverly will realize what we're doing. Too late. Chris's phone rang. Unknown number. Mr. Jordan, Special Agent Torres, FBI. We need you at Federal Plaza immediately. We just arrested Beverly Jordan for embezzlement and fraud, and she's claiming you were her accomplice. The phone slipped from Chris's hand. Beverly's final play, burn everything down, including herself, and take Chris with her. Chapter 7. The Alliance Neither Wanted. The FBI interrogation room was freezing and smelled like old coffee. Chris sat across from Special Agent Torres and Walsh. 3 hours. Let me get this straight, Torres said. Your aunt embezzled millions, orchestrated your relationship's destruction, hired criminals to sabotage businesses, filed false reports to child services, and possibly murdered your father. But you had no idea any of this was happening? That's right. Forgive me, but that seems unlikely. You run a multi-billion-dollar company. You're known for being detail-oriented, and you expect me to believe your aunt was committing massive fraud right under your nose for 10 years? I trusted her, that was my mistake. Or you were working with her. Maybe she stole, but you helped hide it. Maybe you used her to get rid of a girlfriend who got inconveniently pregnant. Chris's jaw tightened. I loved Crystal, would never have hurt her intentionally. But you did hurt her. Threw her out while pregnant. Had lawyers threaten her. That's special cruelty. Those lawyers were Beverly. I didn't authorize those letters. Didn't know they existed until 2 days ago. Convenient. Walsh leaned forward. Here's what we think. You and Beverly worked together. She managed embezzlement while you provided cover through your company. When Crystal got pregnant, you panicked. A wife means audits, questions, transparency. So you and Beverly created a plan. Fake evidence, threats, isolation. That's not what happened. Then why didn't you question the evidence? Why didn't you hire investigators? Demand proof. Because Beverly spent a decade positioning herself as the one person I could trust absolutely. She was my chief of staff, legal counsel, surrogate mother after my father died. When she presented evidence against Crystal, I didn't think I was looking at fake documents. I thought I was looking at truth from someone who loved me. Torres and Walsh exchanged glances. Quite a story. It's not a story. It's what Beverly does. She finds your weaknesses and weaponizes them. My weakness was grief over my father and absolute trust in the woman who raised me after he died. The door opened. Thomas, with another lawyer. This interview is over. Mr. Jordan isn't answering more questions without formal arrangement. He's not under arrest, Torres said. Yet, but we're building a case. Beverly Jordan is being very cooperative about her alleged partner's involvement. Outside, Chris found Crystal waiting with Ryan. What did they ask? Everything. They think I was working with Beverly, that I helped her steal and hide money, that we planned to destroy you together. That's insane. Is it? I destroyed you because I believed lies. Why would anyone believe I wasn't part of those lies? Because you weren't. Chris, I know what Beverly's capable of. She destroyed both of us. We need to prove that together. Since when do you want to work with me? Since she took my children and tried to take everything else. Crystal's voice was fierce. I don't trust you, don't forgive you. But right now, you're the only other person who wants to destroy Beverly as much as I do. So we're partners, temporary, until this is over. Chris wanted to argue, but he'd lost the right to want anything from her. Okay, partners. Back at the temporary office, Ryan had been coordinating with Leo and Jamie. We have a problem, Ryan said. Leo is terrified, talking about recanting. He can't, Crystal said. We need his testimony. Beverly got to him, sent a message about what happens to people who betray her. He's convinced she'll have him killed. She's in custody. She can't hurt him. Can't she? Ryan pulled up a news article. One of Beverly's former business associates found dead this morning. Apparent suicide. He was scheduled to testify next week. The room went cold. She had him killed, Chris said slowly, from jail. Or someone working for her. Either way, Leo has reason to be terrified. Crystal grabbed her phone. We need him in protective custody, now. But Leo didn't answer. Ryan sent someone to his apartment. Door open, Leo gone. Computers wiped or destroyed. She got to him, Ryan said. Bought him off or scared him off. Either way, our star witness is gone. Crystal slammed her hand on the table. We need another way. What about Madison? Chris said suddenly. Beverly's daughter. She knows everything. You think she'll turn on her own mother? I think Madison might be the one person who hates Beverly more than we do. 2 days tracking down Madison Jordan. She was holed up in a Brooklyn boutique hotel, avoiding media around her mother's arrest. When she opened the door, her face was a mess of tears and mascara. What do you want? To talk, Crystal said gently. May we come in? Madison let them in. Chaos. Clothes everywhere. Empty wine bottles, tissues scattered like snow. I'm sorry, Madison said suddenly. For everything. I knew what she was doing and I didn't stop it. I knew she was lying about Crystal and said nothing. I'm sorry. Tell us what happened, Chris said. Madison sat on the bed, hugging a pillow. My mother is a monster. I've known for years, but was too scared to do anything. She controlled everything, my money, career, life. If I disobeyed, she'd destroy me like everyone else. What did she tell you about us? She said Crystal was a gold digger trying to trap you. Showed me fake evidence, and I believed it because I wanted to, because if Crystal was lying, maybe my mother wasn't as evil as I suspected. Madison wiped her eyes. But even believing the lies, I thought what she did was cruel. Crystal was pregnant. Even if everything else was fake, that baby was innocent. I told my mother that. She said I was being weak. Madison looked at Crystal. Then I saw you on the news holding those beautiful children and realized they were real. The pregnancy was real. Everything my mother said was a lie, and I helped her hurt you. Why didn't you come forward? Because I was terrified. She made it clear if I betrayed her, she'd destroy me too. She has information on me, things I did when younger, mistakes she documented for leverage. I was trapped in her web like everyone else. You're not trapped anymore, Crystal said. She's in custody. This is your chance to break free. Is it? She's still giving orders from jail. People are still afraid. That man who died, Jonathan Mitchell? I knew him. He helped my mother with some schemes years ago. Was going to testify. Now he's dead. She can order hits from a jail cell. How am I supposed to be safe? If you testify against her, we can protect you, Chris said. Can you? Really protect me from someone who can order hits while in federal custody? They couldn't promise that, honestly. Madison stood, walked to the window. You know what the worst part is? I think I'm just like her. I stood by and watched her hurt people, benefited from her crimes. That makes me complicit. It makes you a victim, Crystal said. Beverly manipulated you your entire life, groomed you to be her accomplice, but you can stop being a victim right now. Help us stop her, for good. Madison turned around. If I do this, if I testify, I lose everything. She'll release whatever information she has on me. My reputation will be destroyed. Your reputation is already destroyed, Chris said bluntly. You're Beverly Jordan's daughter. The minute she was arrested, you became guilty by association in the public eye. The only way to separate yourself is to actively fight against her. Madison was quiet. Then, okay, I'll do it. I'll tell you everything. She did. For hours, Madison detailed years of her mother's schemes, names of other victims, locations of hidden accounts, passwords to encrypted files. Evidence Beverly had collected on dozens of people, including city officials, judges, even FBI agents. She has something on everyone, Madison said. That's how she's controlled things for so long. She makes sure people are compromised, then uses that leverage whenever she needs something. We need to get all of this to Agent Torres, Ryan said. There's one more thing. Madison pulled out a flash drive. My mother made me record our conversations. She said it was to protect us both, but really it was insurance. I have recordings of her admitting to everything. Embezzlement, fraud, bribing officials, ordering sabotage of Crystal's business, arranging for witnesses to disappear. All of it. She handed the drive to Chris. This is probably enough to put her away for the rest of her life. Use it. Thank you, Crystal said. Don't thank me. I should have done this years ago. Those are your children caught in the middle of my mother's insanity. Henry and Eloise shouldn't be suffering because I was too cowardly to speak up sooner. Tears filled Madison's eyes. I'm so sorry. For all of it. Crystal surprised herself by hugging Madison. You're doing the right thing now. That matters. They took all the evidence, Madison's testimony, the recordings, the financial documents, the list of other victims, straight to Agent Torres. His face when he listened to the recordings was something Chris would remember forever. Beverly's voice, cold and calculating, The Jordan boy is easier to manipulate than I expected. Use his father's memory against him. Make him believe protecting the legacy means protecting me. Another recording. Crystal Carter needs to stay in Chicago. Sabotage any business deals that might bring her back to New York. Another. Chris is asking questions about the trusts. Time to create new problems for him to focus on. Perhaps a business rival. Something to distract him from the embezzlement. This is enough, Torres said finally. More than enough. Beverly Jordan is going away for a very long time. And Chris? Crystal asked. She was claiming he was complicit. These recordings make it clear he was a victim, not an accomplice. We'll be dropping any investigation into Mr. Jordan. We owe him an apology. I don't want an apology, Chris said. I want my children back with their mother. And I want Beverly to never hurt anyone again. We can make that happen. But there was still one problem. Henry and Eloise were still in foster care. Getting them released would take time Crystal didn't have. That night she sat in her hotel staring at photos of them. 7 days. It had been 7 days, and it felt like 7 years. A knock on her door. Chris stood there with his phone. I pulled every string I have, called in every favor, threatened every person I could. The family court judge agreed to an emergency hearing tomorrow morning. If everything goes well, you'll have them back by afternoon. Crystal felt tears she'd been holding back. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. We still have to convince a judge. We will. Chris turned to leave, but Crystal stopped him. Chris, about working together these past few days. You don't have to say anything. I want to. You're not the man who destroyed me 5 years ago. Or maybe you are, and I'm finally seeing you're capable of growth. Either way, you showed up when it mattered. That counts for something. Not enough. No, but it's a start. They stood there, years of pain and a few days of partnership between them. Get some sleep, Chris said. Tomorrow we get your kids back. Our kids, Crystal said softly. They're biologically yours whether I like it or not. And they asked about you when I called them tonight. Wondered if you'd come visit them. I didn't know what to tell them. Chris's eyes filled with tears. They asked about me. Henry wants to know if you're good at chess. Eloise wants to know if you like stories. They're 4 years old and they're trying to figure out if their father is worth knowing. Am I? Crystal didn't answer right away. Finally, I don't know yet, but you're trying. That's more than you did 5 years ago. After Chris left, Crystal lay in bed thinking about the last few days. She'd hated working with him at first. Every moment reminded her of what they'd been and what he'd destroyed. But slowly, she'd started remembering why she'd fallen for him. His intelligence, his determination, the way he listened, the way he'd called before meetings to ask if she needed anything, not to win her back but because he genuinely wanted to help. She wasn't ready to forgive him, might never be ready. But she was starting to believe that the man who'd destroyed her wasn't the same man fighting beside her now, and that scared her almost as much as losing her children had. Because if Chris Jordan had actually changed, if he'd become the man he should have been 5 years ago, then she had a choice to make. Stay angry forever, or risk her heart again. Neither felt safe, but tomorrow she'd get her children back. Everything else could wait. Chapter 8. The Children Who Changed Everything. The family court hearing started at 9 a.m. in a small Lower Manhattan courthouse. Crystal sat with her lawyer, Olivia Reeves. Across from them sat Beverly's lawyer, though Beverly herself was still in FBI custody. Judge William Foster, stern and in his 60s, reviewed documents with growing irritation. "Let me make sure I understand," he said after 20 minutes. Mrs. Jordan filed for emergency custody based on allegations the mother was neglectful and the father had abandoned them. But evidence now shows Mrs. Jordan fabricated these allegations as part of a larger criminal conspiracy to cover her own embezzlement and fraud. "That's correct, Your Honor," Olivia said, and Mrs. Jordan is currently facing federal charges for embezzlement, fraud, conspiracy, filing false police reports, and potentially murder. Yes, Your Honor, as well as additional charges related to falsifying reports to child services and perjury. Judge Foster looked at Beverly's lawyer with barely concealed disgust. Does your client have anything to say in her defense? The lawyer cleared his throat. My client maintains she was acting in the children's best interest based on information available to her at the time. Information she fabricated herself. That has not been proven in a court of law. It's been proven to my satisfaction. Judge Foster closed the folder with force. This is one of the most egregious abuses of the family court system I've seen in 30 years on the bench. Mrs. Jordan used this court to further her own criminal agenda and, in the process, traumatized two innocent children who are victims in all of this. He turned to Crystal. Ms. Carter, I've reviewed the investigation into your parenting. Every allegation was either completely fabricated or so distorted as to be meaningless. You are, by all accounts, an exemplary mother. Your children have been removed for 7 days based on lies. I cannot begin to express my apology for what you and your children have been put through. Crystal felt her chest loosen. Thank you, Your Honor. I'm ordering the immediate return of Henry and Eloise Jordan to your custody. Further, I'm issuing a permanent restraining order against Beverly Jordan and any of her representatives. She is not to come within 500 feet of you or your children ever again. Finally, I'm referring this matter to the district attorney for potential criminal charges against Mrs. Jordan for filing false reports and abuse of the family court system. He banged his gavel. This case is dismissed. Ms. Carter, your children are being brought here right now. They should arrive within the hour. Crystal walked out and straight into Chris's arms without thinking. He held her while she cried. We did it, he whispered. They're coming back. I need to see them. Right now. I know. They waited in a family room on the 3rd floor. Every minute felt like an hour. Crystal couldn't sit still, pacing, checking the time every 30 seconds. What if they're angry with me, she said suddenly. What if they think I abandoned them? They won't think that. They're 4. They don't understand legal systems. They just know strangers took them away. Then we explain it, as many times as they need. Finally, the door opened. A caseworker came in first, followed by Henry and Eloise. Both children looked smaller somehow, tired. Henry was holding his sister's hand tight. Mommy! Eloise saw Crystal and ran. Crystal dropped to her knees and caught both of them as Henry followed. She held them so tight she was probably hurting them but couldn't stop. I'm sorry, she kept saying. I'm so sorry, babies. You're safe now. You're with me. I'm never letting you go again. The people said we had to stay there, Henry said into her shoulder. They said you'd come get us, but you didn't, and I thought maybe you forgot about us. Never. I could never forget you, not for 1 second. I was fighting to get you back every moment you were gone. I promise. Eloise pulled back to look at her mother's face, touched the tears. Did the bad lady hurt you? No, baby. She tried, but she couldn't, and she can't hurt any of us anymore. Henry noticed Chris near the door. You came back. I did. Are you staying this time? The question was innocent and devastating. Chris knelt to Henry's level. If your mom says it's okay, yes, I'm staying. Henry looked at Crystal. Is it okay? Crystal wanted to say no, wanted to take her children and run to Chicago and never see Chris Jordan again. But she looked at her son's face, at the hope and caution mixed there, and knew she couldn't. It's okay. The caseworker signed papers, gave instructions for follow-up, and left them alone. For a while, no one said anything. Crystal just held her children while they held her back. Finally, Eloise looked up. Can we go home now? Yes, baby. We're going home. To Chicago? Henry asked. Crystal hadn't thought about it. Her life was in Chicago, but New York was where this nightmare had unfolded. Going back felt like running. "Let's stay in New York for a few more days," she said. "Make sure everything is settled. Then we'll see." Chris spoke up. "I have a place in Westchester. Big house, lots of space, huge yard. You could stay there while you figure things out. All of you." Chris, not as a romantic gesture, not as me trying to fix things, just as a safe place for you and the kids away from media and chaos. Separate rooms, separate lives, just under the same roof temporarily. Crystal wanted to say no, but Henry and Eloise had been through enough hotel rooms. They needed stability, even if just for a few days. "Okay, but just until we figure out what's next." The house in Westchester was beautiful. 3 stories, massive yard with a treehouse. Henry and Eloise ran through rooms, exploring with the energy of children who'd been cooped up too long. "There's a treehouse!" Eloise shouted from the backyard. "Can we go up?" "Tomorrow, baby. It's getting dark." "Aw." Chris showed them to the guest wing. 2 bedrooms connected by a bathroom. "I'll be on the other side of the house," he said. "There's food in the kitchen. Help yourself to anything. If you need anything at all, just call." "Thank you," Crystal said. "For this. For everything today." "You don't need to thank me." "Yes, I do. You could have walked away, let me fight Beverly alone, but you didn't. Those are my kids too, even if I have no right to claim them yet. Chris, I should let you get settled." He started to leave, but Henry called after him. "Will you read us a story?" Chris stopped. "What?" "A bedtime story. Mommy always reads us stories, but she's tired. You could do it instead." Chris looked at Crystal. "Is that okay?" She wanted to say no, wanted to keep this ritual sacred, something just hers, but Henry was looking at Chris with such hope. "It's okay." An hour later, Crystal stood in the doorway watching Chris read Where the Wild Things Are to Henry and Eloise. Both kids in their pajamas, one on each side of him, leaning against his shoulders. He did different voices for the wild things, made them laugh, made the story come alive differently from how she read it, but equally magical. When he finished, Eloise asked for another. "It's bedtime, baby," Crystal said gently. "One more?" "Tomorrow. Chris can read another tomorrow." "Promise?" Eloise looked at Chris with big eyes. "Promise." After the kids were asleep, Crystal found Chris on the back patio, staring at the dark yard. "They're good kids," he said without turning. "The best. You did an amazing job raising them, alone, while building a company, while dealing with everything that happened." He turned to face her. "I don't know how you did it. I didn't have a choice. When you're responsible for 2 tiny humans, you figure it out or you fail, and I wasn't going to fail. I would have. If I'd been in your position, I would have failed. You don't know that." "Yes, I do. I failed the easiest test possible, trusting the person I loved. You passed tests I can't even imagine." They were quiet for a moment. "Henry asked me earlier if I was good at chess," Chris said. "I didn't know how to answer. I am good at chess. But telling him that felt wrong, like I was trying to impress him. He just wants to know you. 4-year-olds ask simple questions because they think simply. He's not testing you. He genuinely wants to know if you're good at chess, so he knows if you can teach him. I've never been around kids before. I don't know how to talk to them. You seemed fine tonight. The story voices were a hit." Chris smiled slightly. "I was terrified the entire time, kept thinking I was going to mess it up." "You didn't. You were good with them. Can I ask you something?" "Okay. Do you think, eventually, they could forgive me for not being there?" Crystal thought about it carefully. "Kids are more forgiving than adults. If you show up consistently, if you prove you're reliable, they'll accept you. The question is whether I can forgive you for not being there. I know I don't deserve it." "No, you don't. But those kids deserve a father who loves them and shows up for them. So I have to figure out how to let you be that, even though it hurts. What hurts? Watching you be good with them. Seeing what we could have been if Beverly hadn't destroyed us. Wondering if... She stopped. Wondering what? Wondering if maybe you're actually the man I thought you were 5 years ago, just with better judgment now. Chris stepped closer. Crystal. Don't say anything. It's late and I'm exhausted and emotional. Let's just leave it at that. She went inside before he could respond. But that night, lying in bed in the room next to her sleeping children, Crystal couldn't stop thinking about the look on Chris's face when he'd read to Henry and Eloise. He'd looked happy and terrified and full of love for 2 children he barely knew. She'd spent 5 years hating him, building walls, making sure she never let him close enough to hurt her again, but those walls were starting to crack, and that scared her more than anything Beverly Jordan had ever done. Chapter 9. When the Empire Strikes Back. 2 weeks later, Beverly Jordan's preliminary hearing felt like the trial of the century. The federal courthouse in Manhattan was surrounded by media, protesters, people who'd been victims of Beverly's schemes. Everyone wanted to see her fall. Crystal sat next to Chris. Behind them were Ryan, Tiffany, Olivia, and Madison, who'd agreed to testify despite the risk. Beverly walked in wearing an orange jumpsuit that looked obscene against her usual designer wardrobe. Her hair was still perfect, makeup flawless. She'd found a way to maintain appearances even in custody. She scanned the courtroom, and her eyes landed on Chris. She smiled. "She's insane," Crystal whispered. "No, she's convinced she's going to win." The prosecutor stood. Diana Reyes, who'd built her career on taking down white-collar criminals. "Your Honor, the evidence against Beverly Jordan is overwhelming. We have documentation of embezzlement spanning 7 years, testimony from multiple victims, recordings of her admitting to crimes, and proof she orchestrated a campaign of destruction against her own nephew and an innocent woman, including the traumatic removal of children from their mother." Beverly's lawyer, Harrison, stood. "My client has been a pillar of the community for decades. These allegations are based on fabricated evidence and testimony from unreliable witnesses with their own reasons for lying." "Then let's hear from those unreliable witnesses," Judge Foster said. He'd volunteered to handle this case personally after what Beverly had done in his courtroom. Dr. Angela Rodriguez testified first about Beverly paying her to falsify Crystal's medical records, about the specific notes she'd been told to add, about how Beverly had threatened her when she'd expressed doubts. "She told me," Angela said, voice shaking, "that if I ever told anyone, she'd make sure I lost everything, my medical license, my house, my reputation, and she could do it. I'd seen her destroy other people." Harrison cross-examined aggressively, trying to paint Angela as a bitter doctor who'd lost her license for legitimate reasons and was now lying for revenge. But Diana had receipts, Beverly's payment to Angela, time-stamped and documented. Cole Winters testified next, about every job Beverly had hired him for, sabotaging businesses, planting fake evidence, intimidating witnesses. "I've done corporate espionage for 20 years, Cole said. "I've worked for some bad people, but Beverly Jordan was the worst. She didn't just want to win, she wanted to destroy, completely. She'd give me targets and tell me exactly how to ruin their lives. She enjoyed it." Madison testified next, the daughter turning on her mother. Madison walked to the stand, looking fragile but determined. Diana's questions were gentle but thorough. "Can you tell us about your mother's activities over the years?" Madison detailed it all. The embezzlement she'd witnessed, the schemes she'd known about, the people her mother had destroyed. She pulled out documents, recordings, evidence she'd been collecting for years. "I knew my mother was a criminal," Madison said, tears running down her face. "But I was too scared to stop her. She controlled everything. If I disobeyed, she'd hurt me too. I watched her destroy Crystal and Chris. I watched her manipulate her own nephew into throwing away the woman he loved. I watched her take custody of innocent children just to hurt their mother, and I said nothing. I'm as guilty as she is. You're testifying now, Diana said gently. That takes courage. It's too late for courage, but maybe it's not too late for justice. Harrison's cross-examination was brutal. He attacked Madison's credibility, her motives, her character. Isn't it true you benefited financially from your mother's crimes, that you spent money you knew was stolen? Yes. Isn't it true you participated in schemes to manipulate Mr. Jordan, that you tried to seduce him on your mother's orders? Yes. So you're admitting you're a criminal yourself? Yes, I am. And I'll accept whatever punishment comes from that. But I'm not going to let my mother hurt anyone else. The courtroom was silent, but Beverly's lawyer wasn't done. When Diana called Chris to the stand, Harrison went for blood. Mr. Jordan, isn't it true you were planning to audit the family trusts before you discovered Ms. Carter was pregnant? Yes. And isn't it true that once you believed Ms. Carter was lying, you abandoned those audit plans? Yes. I was too devastated to focus on business. Or perhaps you'd found what you were looking for, a convenient excuse to stop an audit that might have implicated you as well. That's not what happened. Can you prove that? Diana objected, but the damage was done. Harrison was planting seeds of doubt, but then Diana called her final witness, Leo Petrov. Everyone had thought Leo was gone, bought off or scared off by Beverly, but he walked into that courtroom with federal marshals flanking him. Mr. Petrov has been in protective custody, Diana explained, after threats were made against his life. He's agreed to testify in exchange for immunity. Leo took the stand and destroyed any remaining defense Beverly had. He presented every forged document, every faked email, every piece of manufactured evidence. He had receipts for every payment Beverly had made. He had recordings of her instructions. He had everything. I forge documents for a living, Leo said, but even I was shocked by what Beverly Jordan asked me to do. She didn't just want evidence, she wanted to psychologically destroy people. She'd tell me exactly what would hurt them most and have me create evidence to accomplish that. She's evil, pure evil. Harrison had nothing to say. No cross-examination could undo Leo's testimony. The preliminary hearing lasted 2 days. By the end, even Beverly's lawyer looked defeated. Judge Foster reviewed everything and made his ruling. I've practiced law for 40 years, and I've never seen anything like this. Beverly Jordan orchestrated a campaign of destruction that spanned years and ruined countless lives. The evidence against her is overwhelming and disturbing. I'm ordering her held without bail until trial. Furthermore, I'm recommending the maximum sentence on all charges. He looked directly at Beverly. You've used the law as a weapon. You've abused the systems designed to protect people. You've shown no remorse, no conscience, no humanity. I sincerely hope you spend the rest of your life in prison. Beverly's mask finally cracked. For just a moment she looked scared. They led her out in handcuffs. Outside, the media was frenzied. Crystal and Chris walked out together and were immediately swarmed. Ms. Carter, how do you feel about today's outcome? I'm relieved that Beverly Jordan will face justice, but mostly I'm grateful that my children are safe and that the truth is finally public. Mr. Jordan, do you have a relationship with your children now? Chris looked at Crystal. She nodded. I'm getting to know Henry and Eloise. They're incredible kids, and I'm grateful for every moment I get to spend with them. I have a lot of lost time to make up for. Are you and Ms. Carter back together? We're co-parenting, Crystal said firmly. Our focus is on our children. But as they walked away from the courthouse, Crystal's hand found Chris's. She didn't think about it, didn't analyze it, just held his hand like it was the most natural thing in the world. He squeezed back gently. That night, back at the Westchester house, they all had dinner together. Henry and Eloise told stories about their day, arguing about whether butterflies or dinosaurs were cooler. Dinosaurs are definitely cooler, Henry insisted. They're huge and strong. Butterflies are prettier, Eloise countered, and they can fly. So could pterodactyls. Those aren't real dinosaurs, Henry. Crystal watched Chris navigate the debate with humor and patience. He'd gotten good at this over the past 2 weeks. The bedtime stories had become routine. So had morning chess games with Henry and afternoon art projects with Eloise. He showed up every day, proving himself in small, consistent ways. After the kids were in bed, Chris found Crystal in the kitchen. "So," he said, "Beverly's going to trial in 3 months. They're talking about a plea deal, but she's refusing. She wants to fight this all the way." "Of course she does. She can't accept losing. Diana thinks the trial will last weeks, maybe months. It's going to be a media circus. I can handle it. I know you can. But should you have to? Maybe you should go back to Chicago. Take the kids somewhere quiet until this is over." Crystal poured wine for both of them. "I'm not running. I'm going to be at that trial every day. I want Beverly to see my face and know she lost." "That's vindictive." "Damn right it is. She tried to destroy me, failed. She tried to take my children, failed. She tried to ruin you, failed. I want her to sit in that courtroom and stare at everything she couldn't break." Chris smiled. "Remind me never to get on your bad side." "Too late. You were on my bad side for 5 years." "Am I still?" Crystal considered the question. "You're making your way back to neutral." "I'll take it." They drank wine in comfortable silence. "The kids asked me today if you're their dad now," Crystal said finally. "What did you tell them?" "I told them yes. You're their biological father, and you're trying to be their real father too. But I also told them that family is about more than biology, that I'll always be their first line of defense. They're lucky to have you. They're lucky to have both of us." Finally, Chris set down his wine glass. "Can I ask you something?" "Maybe. When you look at me now, do you still see the man who destroyed you?" Crystal thought about it honestly. "Sometimes. When I'm tired or angry or scared, I see him. But most of the time I see someone different, someone who's trying to be better. I don't know if that's enough to build anything on, but it's something. I'll take something." That night, Crystal couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the trial, about Beverly's face when the judge denied bail, about the long road still ahead. But she also thought about Chris reading to their children, about the way he'd held her hand outside the courthouse, about how natural it had felt. She'd spent 5 years building walls, making sure no one could hurt her again, making sure she needed no one. But maybe needing someone wasn't weakness. Maybe it was just human. She didn't have answers yet. Didn't know if she could ever fully trust Chris again. Didn't know if they could build something real from the ashes of what Beverly had destroyed. But for the first time in 5 years, she wasn't sure she wanted to stay angry forever. And that was terrifying and hopeful in equal measure. Chapter 10. The Reckoning and the Beginning. 3 months later, Beverly Jordan's trial ended on a Tuesday afternoon in late spring. The jury deliberated for 7 hours. Crystal sat in the courtroom with Chris, Tiffany beside her. Henry and Eloise were with a trusted babysitter, shielded from this final chapter. When the jury filed back in, every face was grim. "Has the jury reached a verdict?" "We have, Your Honor." "On the charge of embezzlement, how do you find?" "Guilty." "On the charge of fraud?" "Guilty." "On the charge of conspiracy?" "Guilty." 7 counts. Beverly Jordan was guilty on every single one. She sat perfectly still, face a mask, but her hands were shaking. "Sentencing will be in 2 weeks," Judge Foster said. "Mrs. Jordan will remain in custody." As they led Beverly out, she turned and looked directly at Crystal. Her face said, "This is your fault." Crystal stared back and mouthed, "Good." Outside, Diana Reyes gave a statement about justice being served. Then she turned the microphone to Crystal. "I want to say something to everyone who's been a victim of Beverly Jordan's schemes. You're not alone. You weren't crazy. You didn't deserve what happened. And today, finally, the person who hurt you is being held accountable. Crystal looked at the camera. To the other victims watching, I see you, I believe you, and I hope today brings you peace. 2 weeks later, sentencing day. Judge Foster looked at Beverly with undisguised contempt. You've shown no remorse, no accountability, no recognition of the pain you've caused. In 40 years on the bench, I've never encountered someone so thoroughly lacking in conscience. He delivered his sentence, 8 years in federal prison, full restitution to all victims, permanent restraining orders, no possibility of early release. Beverly's face went pale. Do you have anything to say? Beverly stood slowly. Yes, I want to say that my nephew is weak. He let an outsider destroy our family. Everything I did was to protect the Jordan legacy. You destroyed the Jordan legacy by being a criminal. Take her away. As marshals led Beverly out, she looked at Chris one last time. You'll never be happy with her. She'll never trust you. But Chris didn't flinch. You lost everything. We're building something new. Who won? Beverly had no answer. 6 months after sentencing, life had found a strange rhythm. Crystal moved Carter Global's headquarters to New York. The company was thriving. Henry and Eloise had adjusted. They had 2 homes now, Crystal's Manhattan penthouse and Chris's Westchester house. They'd stopped asking if their parents were together, accepting they had 2 people who loved them. On a Saturday morning, Chris picked up the kids. But instead of leaving, he asked Crystal if they could talk. Is something wrong? No, I wanted to show you something. They drove to a park in Westchester, kids running ahead to the playground. I've been thinking about the future, Chris said as they watched Henry and Eloise play. About what I want, what's important. Okay. 5 years ago, I had everything I thought mattered. Money, power, success. And I lost it because I didn't recognize what was valuable. You, us, what we were building. Chris, let me finish. I'm not asking for another chance. I know I don't deserve that. But these past months, getting to know our children, working alongside you, co-parenting, it's been the best time of my life, even with chaos and pain, because I get to be near you again. Crystal was quiet, watching their children. You've been good with them, she said finally. Better than I expected. They make it easy. They're incredible. They are. And they love you. Henry told me last week you're his best friend. Eloise drew a picture of our family, all 4 of us holding hands. Chris felt his throat tighten. She did? I have it on my fridge. They sat in silence, watching their children play in autumn sunshine. I don't know if I can fully trust you again, Crystal said quietly. There's still this part that remembers how easily you believed I was lying, how quickly you threw me away. I know. But I also see who you are now, how you show up every day, how you've earned pieces of them I never thought you'd deserve. You're not the man who destroyed me. You're someone better. I'm trying. I see that. And maybe that's enough to start building something new, not what we had. That's gone. But something different. What does that look like? I don't know yet. Maybe we start with dinner, the 4 of us. Not as co-parents doing handoffs, as a family trying to figure out what family means. Chris felt hope bloom. I would like that. No promises, no expectations. Just one day at a time. One day at a time, Chris repeated. I can do that. Henry ran over, breathless. Dad, come push me on the swing. Chris stood, then paused. Did he just call me Dad? He's been doing that for weeks, Crystal said with a small smile. I didn't want to tell you because I thought you might cry. I might cry. Go push your son on the swing. That night, they all had dinner together at Crystal's penthouse. Just pasta and garlic bread and salad. But the kids set the table together. Chris helped with sauce. They told stories about their days. Henry spilled juice and Eloise laughed so hard she snorted. It was ordinary and domestic and perfect. After the kids were bathed and in pajamas, after Chris read 2 stories instead of 1 because Eloise begged, Crystal walked him to the door. "Thank you for today. I should be thanking you for letting me in, for giving me a chance to know them. You've earned it." She hesitated. "Chris, about what I said in the park. You don't have to explain. I want to. I meant it. About trying. About seeing where this goes. But I need you to understand it's going to be slow. There are going to be days when I'm angry about the past, days when I don't want you near me because it still hurts. I understand. And if you ever make me regret this decision, I won't. Crystal, I promise I will spend every day proving you can trust me. Not because I want to win you back, because you and those kids deserve someone who shows up. Always." She looked at him, then did something that surprised them both. She kissed his cheek. Just a soft brush. Nothing dramatic, but it meant everything. "Good night, Chris. Good night." 3 years later, on Henry and Eloise's 8th birthday, the whole family gathered at the Westchester house. The kids were older now, taller, smarter. Henry had discovered robotics. Eloise was writing stories that made adults cry. Crystal and Chris had spent those 3 years rebuilding, slowly, carefully. There had been setbacks and arguments and moments when Crystal almost walked away. But Chris kept his promise. He showed up every single day. They'd been officially together for a year, living separately still, taking things slow, but together in ways that mattered. As the party wound down and kids ran around the yard, Tiffany pulled Crystal aside. "You look happy." "I am. Weirdly, impossibly happy. You deserve it." Crystal watched Chris organizing Capture the Flag with a dozen 8-year-olds, laughing, overwhelmed, having the time of his life. "I never thought I'd get here. Never thought I could trust him again. But he proved me wrong, every day for 3 years. Later, after guests left and kids were asleep, Crystal and Chris sat on the back patio under stars. "Best birthday party yet," Chris said. "The robot cake was your idea. And Eloise loved the writing workshop you arranged. They'd gotten good at this. Co-parenting that became partnering, that became loving again, differently than before." "I have something for you," Chris said suddenly. "It's the kid's birthday, not mine." "I know." He pulled out a small box. Not a ring box. Something else. Inside was a key. "What's this?" "Key to this house. I want you to move in, you and the kids, officially. Not as my girlfriend staying over sometimes, as my partner, my family." Crystal held the key. "That's a big step." "I know, and if you're not ready, I understand. But Crystal, we've been rebuilding for 3 years. At some point we have to stop being afraid of what might go wrong and start believing in what we're building." She thought about Henry and Eloise asking every week why they had 2 homes instead of 1, about how natural it felt when they were all together here, about how Chris had proven over and over that he was the man she'd thought he was 5 years ago, just harder earned. "Okay. Okay? Yes. Let's do it. Let's be a real family. All of us under one roof." Chris pulled her close and kissed her. Not their first kiss since getting back together, but it felt like it, like a promise of something permanent. "I love you," he whispered. "I never stopped. Even when I was destroying us, I never stopped." "I know, and I love you too. Even when I hated you, I never completely stopped loving you. That's what made it hurt so much." They stayed under the stars until the night grew cold. Inside, Henry and Eloise slept peacefully, dreaming kid dreams about robots and stories and whatever else 8-year-olds dreamed about. On Henry's nightstand was a photo from the party. All 4 of them, covered in cake, laughing. A real family. Imperfect and hard-earned and absolutely perfect. Beverly Jordan sat in federal prison, year 3 of her 8-year sentence. She'd aged badly. Prison didn't suit someone who'd built their life on appearances. She thought about Chris and Crystal sometimes, how she'd tried to destroy them and only made them stronger, how her need for control had cost her everything. But even now, even after all this time, Beverly Jordan couldn't admit she'd been wrong. Some people never learn. But Chris and Crystal learned that broken things could be fixed, not made perfect, not made into what they were before, but fixed into something new, something stronger, something earned through pain and time and the choice to keep trying. That's what love actually looked like, where people hurt each other and did the work to heal, where forgiveness was earned through consistency, where trust was rebuilt one day at a time. Henry and Eloise would grow up seeing that version of love, would understand that mistakes didn't make you irredeemable, that doing the work to fix mistakes was what mattered. They would learn that family wasn't about being perfect. It was about showing up, even when hard, especially when hard. And years later, when they were grown and building their own relationships, they would remember how their parents fought to build something beautiful from ashes. They would remember that love wasn't about never falling down. It was about getting back up every time and choosing each other again. That was the real love story, not the one everyone envied, the one everyone learned from. The end.